You watch your mother forget your name, and every doctor tells you that it is just aging. They say it is Alzheimer's disease and you just have to accept it. But what if they are entirely wrong? What if her memory is being chemically erased by the exact pills sitting on her nightstand right now? I need you to check their medicine cabinet today because you might not be dealing with an incurable disease. You might be dealing with a 100% reversible pharmacy mistake. The guilt of a caregiver is a heavy thing to carry. You lie awake at night wondering if you are doing enough. You notice the missed phone calls. You see the keys left in the front door again. You listen to the same stories repeated 3 times in the span of 10 minutes. When you bring these concerns to the doctor, the response is almost always the same. They look at the medical chart, they look at the age, and they nod with that sympathetic smile. They tell you that getting older is hard. They hand you another prescription to help manage the confusion or the anxiety, and they send you home to watch the person you love slowly slip away. Society has conditioned us to believe that severe memory loss is simply the tax we pay for living a long life. But I want to tell you a story about a patient I will call Sarah. Sarah was 78 years old. Her daughter brought her in because Sarah had stopped cooking, stopped calling her grandchildren, and started wandering around her own kitchen at 2 in the morning looking for a bathroom that had not moved in 40 years. Her previous doctor diagnosed her with rapid onset dementia. Her daughter was devastated and was already looking into memory care facilities. But we did not look at Sarah's brain first. We looked at her brown paper bag full of daily medications. We found a common sleep aid she had been taking for 3 years and a standard bladder control pill. Both are widely prescribed. Both are heavily concentrated with chemicals that block the exact neurotransmitter your brain uses to form a single new thought. We safely and slowly tapered her off those 2 specific bottles. Exactly 3 weeks later, Sarah did not just remember her grandchildren. She called them on the phone and asked what kind of pie they wanted for the holidays. Her dementia was not a permanent brain disease. It was a dense chemical fog induced by the very healthcare system that was trying to treat her. If you are caring for an aging parent right now, you are carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You do not need more sympathy from doctors. You need the truth. Today, I am going to walk you through the 3 silent signs that your parent's memory loss is not just natural aging, but a toxic chemical reaction. And then, I will give you the exact step-by-step protocol to audit their medicine cabinet, talk to their physician, and hopefully get your parent back. If you have ever watched your mother or father transform into a completely different person as the sun goes down, you already know the terror of sundowning. It is one of the most heartbreaking signs of Alzheimer's disease. In the morning, your parent might be sharp. They drink their coffee, they ask about your work, and they seem like the person you have always known. But by 4 in the afternoon or 5 in the evening, a dark shadow falls over them. They become agitated. They start pacing the hallways. They might look right at you and accuse you of stealing their money, or beg you to take them home when they are already sitting in their own living room. When you tell the doctor about this evening agitation, they will almost certainly nod and write down the word sundowning on their medical chart. It is the classic textbook progression of dementia, but here is the medical truth that is hiding in plain sight. For millions of seniors, that evening confusion is not caused by the sun going down or their brain deteriorating. It is caused by the exact half-life of the pills they swallowed the night before. We have to talk about how a 70-year-old brain processes chemicals differently than a 30-year-old brain. As we get older, our bodies lose muscle mass and gain fat, and our kidneys and liver do not filter out toxins as quickly. This brings us to a class of drugs called benzodiazepines, which are heavily prescribed for anxiety or sleep, and over-the-counter sleep aids that contain diphenhydramine. When a young person takes a sleeping pill, their body clears it out in about 8 hours. They wake up feeling fine. But when a senior takes that exact same pill, their aging liver processes it at a fraction of the speed. More importantly, the active chemicals in these drugs are fat-soluble. Because an older brain has a high concentration of fatty tissue, these chemicals cross the blood-brain barrier and literally park themselves inside the brain. They accumulate night after night. You might give them a tiny dose of 2 milligrams at 10 in the evening, hoping they just get a good night of rest. But by the next afternoon, a massive backlog of that chemical is still suffocating their neurons. As the day wears on and their natural energy levels dip, that residual chemical fog takes over. Their brain cannot fire the electrical signals needed to process their surroundings. The agitation you are seeing at 5 in the evening is not a symptom of their brain dying. It is a symptom of a brain desperately struggling to function while drowning in leftover sedatives. They are not sundowning. They are intoxicated. Think about how this cycle traps the caregiver. Your parent gets confused and agitated in the evening. You panic because they are hard to manage and you are exhausted. You call the doctor. The doctor hears that they are agitated and pacing, and what do? They prescribe a stronger sedative or an antipsychotic medication to calm them down. Now you are treating a drug overdose with more drugs. You are pouring gasoline on a fire and calling it medicine. The difference between genuine neurological decline and chemical intoxication is timing and inconsistency. Alzheimer's disease destroys brain tissue slowly and steadily over many years. If your parent has sudden swings of extreme clarity in the morning followed by deep delusions in the afternoon, or if this behavior started within a few weeks or months of a new prescription, you need to pause. Chemical damage fluctuates. Physical brain death does not. You have to look closely at the timing of their behavior. Map out exactly when they take their medication and count the hours until the agitation begins. You might just find a predictable mathematical pattern that proves their mind is still intact, but their medicine cabinet is poisoning them. There is a specific kind of grief that comes when you realize the parent you knew is slipping away while they are still sitting right in front of you. Maybe your father used to spend hours in his garden, meticulously tending to his tomato plants, and now he just sits in his recliner staring at a blank television screen. Maybe your mother used to light up the room the second her grandchildren walked through the front door, and now she barely manages a flat, emotionless smile. Her face looks like a mask. Her voice has lost its melody. She seems entirely detached from the life she built. In the medical community, we call this the flatline effect, and when you desperately describe this personality loss to a primary care doctor, they almost always reach for the same diagnosis. They tell you your parent is suffering from geriatric depression. They explain that getting older is isolating and losing independence makes people withdraw. So they do what the current medical system trains them to do. They write a new prescription for a popular antidepressant, usually a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, to help lift their mood. But I need you to listen to me very carefully right now. For a massive percentage of the senior population, that emotional flatline is not depression. It is a chemical cage built by the medications they are already taking. When a doctor adds an antidepressant on top of that, they trigger something we call a prescription cascade. They are treating the side effect of one drug with another drug, pushing your parent further into the dark. Let us look at what is really happening inside their brain. Many seniors are on a cocktail of everyday medications. They take proton pump inhibitors for their acid reflux or stomach ulcers. They take beta blockers for their blood pressure. On the surface, these medications seem completely unrelated to mood, but your brain requires a delicate balance of neurotransmitters to feel joy, to feel motivation, and to physically express emotion. Two of the most critical chemicals are dopamine, which drives our reward and pleasure center, and acetylcholine, which we already know handles memory and sharp thinking. When you combine certain blood pressure medications with long-term use of stomach acid reducers, you can severely disrupt the absorption of essential nutrients like vitamin B12 and magnesium. Without those raw materials, the aging brain simply cannot synthesize enough dopamine. When dopamine levels crash, the result looks exactly like severe clinical depression. They do not feel sad, they just feel nothing. Their facial muscles actually lose the neurological signaling required to form complex expressions, which is why they have that chilling, mask-like stare. They are not depressed. Their brain is starving. This is where the heartbreak of caregiving turns into justified anger. The medical system is so rushed. An average doctor visit lasts about 15 minutes. It is much faster to write a prescription for an antidepressant than it is to sit down, pull out every single pill bottle, and map out complex chemical interactions. So your parent gets the antidepressant. That new drug throws their brain chemistry even further out of balance, often increasing their risk of falls and deepening their cognitive fog. I want you to hear this loud and clear because this is the truth that will set you free from a lot of guilt. Your mother has not stopped caring about you. Your father has not lost interest in his grandchildren. The core of who they are, their love for your family, is still intact. They are simply trapped behind a chemical wall. Their nervous system has been suppressed to the point where they cannot express the love they feel. They need you to be their advocate. They need you to look past the diagnosis of depression and look straight at their daily pill organizer. Getting older comes with a lot of indignities that people do not want to talk about. One of the hardest things for an aging parent to accept is losing control of their own body. If your mother or father starts struggling with an overactive bladder, it is humiliating for them. They might stop wanting to leave the house. They might refuse to go to their favorite restaurants or visit their friends because they are terrified of having an accident in public. As a caregiver, you want to protect their dignity, so you take them to the doctor, and the doctor prescribes a tiny, very common pill to solve the problem. The most famous one is called oxybutynin. It fixes the bladder issue almost overnight. The leaks stop. They get their confidence back. But just a few months later, their memory completely falls apart. You start noticing that they cannot remember what they had for breakfast 2 hours ago. They ask you the exact same question 5 times in a single afternoon. They lose their train of thought right in the middle of a sentence and stare at you with a blank expression. It happens so incredibly fast that it takes your breath away. Naturally, you assume the worst. You assume the Alzheimer's disease you have been dreading has finally arrived. But here is the brutal paradox that most busy doctors never take the time to explain to desperate families. The way that bladder medication works is by blocking a specific chemical messenger in the nervous system to stop the bladder muscles from having spasms. That chemical messenger is called acetylcholine. If you remember what we talked about earlier, acetylcholine is the exact same chemical that your brain relies on to encode every single new memory. It is the glue that holds a new thought in your head long enough to file it away into long-term storage. The massive problem with older bladder medications is that they do not just stay down in the bladder where they belong, they easily cross the blood-brain barrier. So while the medication is paralyzing the bladder muscles to stop the embarrassing leaks, it is simultaneously paralyzing the hippocampus, which is the memory-making center of the brain. It is quite literally wiping their short-term memory clean every single day. The most important clue you can look for here is the speed of the cognitive decline. True Alzheimer's disease is a slow, agonizingly gradual fading away. It takes many years to progress from mild forgetfulness to severe cognitive impairment. But medication-induced dementia is completely different. It is aggressive and it is fast. If your parent went from living independently and managing their own checkbook to being completely disoriented in the span of just 3 to 6 months, that is a massive red flag. Human brains simply do not physically deteriorate that quickly on their own without a major trauma. That rapid free fall is almost always the signature of a chemical blockade. The absolute tragedy here is how many families have put their loved ones into memory care facilities because nobody bothered to look at the severe cognitive side effects of a simple bladder pill. They unknowingly chose a dry pair of pants over a functioning mind because they did not know they had to choose at all, and you do not have to choose. Medical science has advanced far beyond these older drugs. There are newer medications available right now that control the bladder beautifully without ever crossing the blood-brain barrier. They do not touch the brain's memory center. If your parent is taking medication for urinary incontinence and their memory is rapidly failing, you need to look at that bottle right now. You might be holding the exact reason they are slipping away, and more importantly, you might be holding the key to bringing them back. We have talked about the dark side of these medications, but now I want to give you the exact roadmap to bring your parent back out of that chemical fog. This is where you stop feeling helpless and start taking control of their medical care. Medication-induced cognitive decline is highly reversible. Let me repeat that. It is reversible, but the reversal process has to be done systematically and safely. I am going to walk you through a 3-step protocol right now. Step 1 is what the medical community calls the Brown Bag Audit. I want you to get a literal brown paper grocery bag and go to your parents' house. You are going to open their medicine cabinet, their kitchen drawers, and their bedside table. Put every single pill bottle into that bag. You need to include the prescriptions from their cardiologist, the prescriptions from their neurologist, and every single over-the-counter bottle they buy at the pharmacy. That means the allergy pills, the sleep aids, the antacids, and the pain relievers. Do not leave a single pill out. The reason we do this is because older adults often see 3 or 4 different specialists, and these doctors rarely talk to each other. They do not know what the other is prescribing. You have to become the central point of truth for their medical file. Step 2 is calculating their anticholinergic burden score. This sounds complicated, but you can do it on your phone in 10 minutes. An anticholinergic drug is any medication that blocks acetylcholine, the memory chemical we have been talking about. When a person takes multiple drugs that block this chemical, the damage multiplies. You can search online for an anticholinergic burden calculator. Sit down with your brown bag and type every medication name into that tool. It will give you a score. If your parent's score is a 3 or higher, their risk of severe cognitive impairment is massive. You will likely be shocked to see that the innocent-looking sleep aid and the standard bladder control pill are creating a highly toxic environment inside their brain. You now have hard data, not just an emotional hunch. Step 3 is the doctor negotiation. Armed with your brown bag and your burden score, you need to schedule an appointment with their primary care physician. But you must follow this one absolute rule. Do not ever take your parent off their medications cold turkey. Stopping these chemical dependencies abruptly can cause severe withdrawal, seizures, or even death. It must be done under medical supervision. When you sit down with the doctor, I want you to use this exact phrase. Say, I am very concerned about my mother's total anticholinergic burden and the sudden changes in her cognition. I would like to do a trial taper of her non-essential medications to see if her memory improves. Doctors respond to medical terminology. When you frame it as a trial taper and cite the burden score, they will listen to you. Ask them if there are newer, safer alternatives that do not cross the blood-brain barrier. Ask if they really need that sleeping pill every single night. The road back takes time. As you slowly taper the doses down over a few weeks or a few months, you might start seeing glimpses of the person you thought you had lost forever. Their eyes will get a little brighter. Their sentences will get a little sharper. One morning, they might just remember a story from 20 years ago with perfect clarity. Caregiving is an incredibly lonely journey, and society asks you to carry a terrible burden. You are doing the absolute best you can, and just by watching this video, you are becoming the advocate your parent desperately needs. If you have brothers or sisters, or if you know another caregiver who is watching their parent fade away, please share this video with them today. Put it in your family group chat so everyone is on the exact same page. Your parent needs you to fight for them. Tell me in the comments below which medications you found in their cabinet today, because your comment might just help the next family save their mother or father.